Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So when I was pregnant for the first time, I was already, years into my massage career, and I did a lot of research on how to give a massage when you're pregnant without killing your body mechanics, because as your abdomen expands, your center of gravity just goes really wonky. I mean, it basically, you can't rely on that anymore as a grounding point when you're doing your massages. So I thought I would make a video to help any female massage therapists out there who want to be able to work during their whole pregnancy like I did, but in a healthy way for your body. So I'm gonna go through each trimester and show you the things that I did when for both of my pregnancies. I worked all the way up until about, I would say probably a week before delivery, I was able to work. And I do think that some of these tips and tricks that I did really helped me to keep my endurance up. And I want to start by saying that, you know, if your doctor tells you that you can't be on your feet and you can't be doing massage therapy because it is a physically demanding job, then definitely take that advice to heart and make sure your doctor knows what you do for a living. My doctor was all for it. She was pro going to the gym and working out, running if I wasn't. I'm not a runner, but she was okay if I was. And she saw no problem at all with me continuing to do my job as long as I knew my limits and stuck to them. So here are the first trimester symptoms that I personally experienced, and a lot of women that I know experienced these kinds of symptoms. So first, you're gonna feel in that first probably 2 to 3 months after you find out that you're pregnant, you're gonna be exhausted. Fatigue is the #1 issue, I think, and getting nauseous is probably #2. And the reason that I put fatigue first is because it happens a lot, like every day, and getting nauseous usually goes away after the first maybe 1 or 2 months. For most people, this is general, you guys. There are exceptions to every rule, of course, but the fatigue stays with you for the whole first trimester. And when you're doing a physically demanding job like massage, that's going to play a huge impact in your day-to-day work. So most of us don't find out that we're pregnant until we're already probably 5 or 6 weeks along. And by then, you've already noticed that you're extremely tired, and you can't figure out why, because you're getting just as much sleep, if not more, than you always did. And you are feeling physically drained to the point where you feel like you just ran a marathon and you literally just took a shower and tried to get ready for work, and you already want to go back to bed. So my tip when it comes to that stage in your pregnancy is to recognize and listen to your body. If you're too tired to get up and go to work that day, take the day off, or only work a half a day. Because when it comes to pregnancy, and this applies for all 3 trimesters, you always need to be thinking about at least a month ahead, if not 6 weeks ahead. So when you're looking at your schedule, once you find out that you're pregnant, you need to constantly be thinking ahead of time. And so you don't know that in 6 weeks you're gonna feel as good as you do right now. So if you're booking clients out that far ahead, you should probably plan to be cautious. And then if you don't have any negative symptoms or anything going on, then you can adjust your schedule accordingly. But I found that knowing ahead of time and looking at my book and saying, hey, by the time 6 weeks rolls around, I may not feel like I can do 4 or 5 clients a day. So keep your schedule light. You can always call people. Shh. You can always call people and get them in down the road if you're feeling better. So how to deal with fatigue in your first trimester. Obviously, Obviously the stomach is not going to be an issue because you don't really show until you're, I don't know, beginning of your 5th month, I think. Everyone's different, but try to take the opportunity to schedule half days. That's my number 1 tip. Also, take the opportunity to use a stool to sit down during as much of the massage as possible so that you can save your strength and pace yourself through your day. Pace yourself through that massage that you're doing. So what I do is I actually sat on one of those big blow-up exercise balls, and it was bouncy and squishy, and it was very comfortable for my low back. And I kind of kept it not all the way filled up with air so that it was super firm. I kind of would fill it up and then let some air out until it had a little bit of a bounce and a little bit of a squish to it. And then that's what I would sit on. Now I've got my trusty stool here because I do a lot of home visits and this is much easier to travel with. But I do recommend that you get a ball to sit on. Use it as a stool when you're working on the head, neck, and shoulders. Also, when you get to the section of the massage where you're working on the feet, take that opportunity to sit down, work on the feet. Whether the client is prone or supine, you can sit down while you're working on their feet. Also, another thing that I learned is just because you're working on their arm or their leg doesn't mean that you can't sit down and do the same kind of work. Now, the lower your table is, the easier it's going to be to sit down and still work on their arm or their leg. Okay, so if you're feeling extremely tired and you need to get off your feet for a few minutes, you can still give a great massage. You can still do all the things that you want to do, but you're sitting down. You're giving your body a few minutes to rest, like I said, to keep yourself on pace for the rest of that massage. And the same thing with the leg. My table is a little bit high right now, and I'm gonna explain why in a minute. But when it's lower and you're sitting down, you get a healthy amount of leverage to work on the legs and the arms. So I'm not saying you have to sit down for the whole massage, but I'm saying take advantage of the opportunity to sit down whenever you can. The client isn't gonna mind. I mean, most of the time they're surprised that they're flattered that you're there working, even though you're pregnant. So most people are happy for you, and as long as they're still getting a good massage, then they don't really care whether you're standing on your head or sitting down or what you're doing, as long as they are getting a quality massage. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to go expand my belly for you to show you what things are going to be doing as your belly grows and how you can make adjustments for your table. I'll be right back. And I'm back. And now I am in my 2nd trimester of pregnancy. See my baby bump, you guys? I got really creative for this video. Maybe it's better in the light here. Okay. 2nd trimester, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th month. Now, for me personally, my babies were huge. I gave birth to 2 10-pound babies. Not in the same pregnancy. They weren't twins. 2 different pregnancies, but both babies came out 10 pounds. So for me, I'll see if I can find some pictures and insert them, but for me, my 2nd trimester, I really popped. I really popped. And I had to learn kind of by trial and error because I really couldn't find a lot of literature out there on giving massages while pregnant. There wasn't a lot of information out there. I searched the internet for days and hours and kind of just came to terms with the fact that I was going to have to figure this out myself. And I also didn't know any female therapists who had done it before. So here we go. This is what I learned, and this is how I found out that it was the most comfortable as your belly is expanding. There are going to be times when your belly accidentally bumps into the client. So get used to the fact right away that you're probably going to get oil stains on your belly. If you've already massaged that arm or that leg and then it bumps into it. So with your maternity clothes, I would strongly suggest either putting a towel, if you don't want the oil stains, on it to soak into your clothes. Put a towel across there, somehow tuck it into your oil belt, which, by the way, I do wear a belt with my oil on it, and I did have to keep expanding the belt, and I would wear it under my baby bump and it would still hang on my hip, no problem, but there is an expansion, a way to make it longer and shorter, so you're gonna have to do that. So this is where things got a little bit tricky as far as center of gravity being thrown off and having to learn to sort of find your own center of gravity and don't rely on what you've been relying on in the past. So find whatever works for you. Just remember, don't bend over at the back to do this massage. So step one, still go into your lunge. You can still do your proper forward and backward motion. You can try to keep your center of gravity aimed at what you're working on, but if it doesn't work, you know what? Don't focus too much on that, you guys, because you got to work with what's going here. And tip number 2, as my belly grew, I raised my table. So normally my table is like down on the 1, 2, 3, maybe the 4th hole up from the bottom. As my pregnancy progressed, I would say probably at least once a week, I would raise my table by a notch or 2 at a time. And what that did is it kind of compensated for the fact that my center of gravity was thrown off. And what it did is it allowed me not to accidentally start getting lazy and bending over to reach down to the client. So table comes up, you'll find it gets a lot easier to reach the client without bending. And you can pretty much do everything that you would normally do. Again, expect that your belly's gonna bump into the client every once in a while. It's not a big deal. Most clients are going to understand and it won't be a problem. Again, as your belly gets bigger, you're putting on weight. You might not have the same endurance that you're used to anymore. If you have to make your days half days, by all means do it. And another thing, and I should have mentioned this in the section for the first trimester, another thing that you're going to want to do is schedule your day so that you have, instead of maybe having a half an hour between each client to do, getting them checked out and then setting up your table for the next client, give yourself a full hour because you're going to be moving a little bit slower and you don't want to feel rushed and you don't want to be sweating and be all exhausted because you had to rush between clients to get that table ready for the next one. It's easier. Give yourself a little bit more time. You control your schedule, take advantage of that fact, and make it work for you. So that's what I started doing, is working half days on days I was too tired, giving myself a whole hour, sometimes an hour and a half between clients. And the other special thing, and I did this a lot in my first and second trimester, was I would schedule a complete block in the middle of my day, a complete block of time, where I would lay down on my table and take a nap. And I would set the timer on my phone, my alarm, and I would keep it right next to my head so I could hear it. And I'd turn that heating pad on and I'd get the heating pad pillow behind my neck and I would play quiet music sometimes or no music at all. And I would lay down with that bolster under my knee so that my legs were elevated a little bit. And it's so comfortable, and it's to take advantage of the fact that this is what you do for a living and you've got this fantastic table to lay on. Sometimes I would take like an hour nap in the middle of the day. And another thing I should mention, always eat. If you're one of those people who intermittent fasts, or you don't do breakfast, or you don't do lunch, whatever, when you're going to be working during pregnancy, you need to make sure that you have snacks on hand, whether it be an apple, a granola bar, a banana, a little tiny sandwich or something just to nibble on between clients to keep your energy sustained, because that baby, as that baby grows, man, it is sucking all that energy out of your body, and everything in your body sends what it needs to the baby, and you become a second priority. So you've got to make sure that you're keeping yourself hydrated and sustained food-wise throughout the day, or you're never going to make it. And I would say this goes for any job, but particularly ones that are physically demanding, like massage. So that's how I got through my second trimester, is definitely raising up the table about once a week so that I didn't completely bend and just blow my back out. So when I come back, I'm gonna be in my third trimester, and I'm gonna show you everything I did to get through that. And we're back, and now I am in my third trimester. And as you can see, it's a little lumpy, but I've done the best I can. I've done the best I could, you guys. I looked at pictures of myself when I was pregnant, and sad but true, in my third trimester, so month 7, 8, and 9, some pregnant women grow this way, some grow this way. I definitely was one that went boop straight out, which for massage was probably not as conducive as if I had gone this way. But look, it is what it is. You got to work with what you got. Now, one of the things that I discovered as my belly grew is that my table, number one, was moved up to the highest that it could be. I was sitting down a lot while I was working, but I had a lot of energy. I just had a lot of low back pain. So it's not that I was fatigued and tired, it's that anytime after I would get through my first or second massage of the day, I would start to feel just all the way across my sacrum, my QLs, my entire pelvic girdle was aching, just a constant sort of throbbing. And you know, you're not really supposed to take any medications. They say Tylenol is okay, but I chose not to because I would just put a heating pad on it. I would do some self-massage. And again, in the third trimester, I was still only working half days, and I was scheduling a nap in the middle of the day. And I went down from a 5-day work week to a 3-day work week, and that really helped with my low back pain. Now, one thing that I did find myself doing is I was addicted to sparkling water, the kind that has no sugar or anything in it, and I would keep sparkling water somewhere within reach at all times while I was doing a massage, and I would just constantly drink water all day long. And I found that as my table, as I had to bring it up higher, I didn't want my clients to suffer in the sense of how much pressure I was giving them, because we know that as the table is higher, it's hard to sort of lean into the client to give them the pressure that they might be expecting. So one of the tricks that I came across was getting a step stool, and this is just one of those cheap little stepping stools that you can get at the dollar store, or I don't know, Dollar General or something. But I would keep it underneath my table, and then whenever I needed it, I could just scoot it out. And what I would do is sometimes I would just I would use one foot to stand on it to get some more pressure into the client. And sometimes I would use both feet, and I'd be able to really lean in and still keep my back straight as I possibly could. And I would stand on this stool to give myself leverage to really give the client more pressure. And again, I was sitting on a ball. Belly's falling a little bit there. Okay. I was sitting on a ball that I could seat myself on at any time if I felt like I was getting a little bit too tired. And same thing as the first trimester. When I would do the feet, I would take advantage of that 10 minutes and I would sit down. And when I would do the head and shoulders and neck, I would take advantage of that and sit down, and that's usually like a 15-minute break. And I started pacing myself on when I could sit down and take breaks during the massage. But the key thing is that stool, which some of you may want to pull out in your second trimester, whatever works for you and whatever size you are. Stand on it when you need to. Drink tons of water. And again, if you want to protect your maternity clothes from getting oil stains on them, because I tell you what, this is definitely going to be something that happens is when you're working on a client, no matter how hard you try, your belly's going to start bumping into them at this point. A lot of my clients got a kick out of it because, you know, it's not like it's obscene or anything like that. But I also found that one of my favorite moves that I like to do, which is the Superman pose, where you stand on your feet and you go all the way down. I had to give that one up, you guys. I had to stop doing that because I literally couldn't, logistics-wise, physics was not allowing me to do that. So I kind of had to go to the side and do my long strokes. And again, the face cradle kind of protects your belly from hitting the client, but depending on what position you're in, it's gonna bump in. It's not a big deal. So at any rate, if you guys have any questions, let me know. That's pretty much how I made it through. And like I said, I was lucky enough to be able to work up until about maybe 4 days before delivery. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It got me out of the house. It got me off the couch. I definitely think one of the smartest things I did was, like I said, I thought ahead a couple of months and started planning my schedule accordingly, knowing that I was going to be getting bigger and probably more tired and probably more back pain. So if you take nothing away from this video at all, please take away that. Schedule yourself accordingly. Always think a few months ahead. And I just want to say thank you for watching, you guys. And for all of you who are pregnant out there, congratulations. I know it's a very special time in your life, and have fun with it. And remember, it's only 9 months out of your life, and after that you get to go back to normal and treasure that little baby. And like I said, comment below if you have any questions, and I will be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching, you guys. Until next time, bye.
It is just enough to get